guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled "Why Can't I Get a Free Color Laser Printer Instead?" My employees have been working remotely for about a year now, and like most businesses, we weren't as prepared as we could have been. I bought new laptops, docking stations and 2 monitors for everyone last year, but one thing I forgot was printers. Everyone said they had a printer, so I said I'd just reimburse for toner, ink. Problem solved. Well, not really. Some had inkjets and those cartridges add up quickly. And when people had to scan and archive documents, people who didn't have a scanner would have to trek into the office to do it. Not an impossible situation, just not a great one, and as work has picked up it became a growing headache. Last week I decided that we're going to let our office lease expire and go full remote for the rest of 2021. I don't think anyone wants to be trekking to my house to scan documents. Dan, not his real name, on our team is really tech savvy. He has a good multi-function laser printer that does scanning and faxing. It prints double-sided and at a pretty good speed and has Wi-Fi support. Best of all, he's really familiar with it, and he said he'd help anyone with setup. It's what he told me to buy, and it works great. Last Friday I told everyone I was buying these printers for their work at home. A number of people have kids who are remote learning, so I said they could let their kids and spouses use it too. People seemed pretty pleased. This weekend, I had the following maddening email exchange with a team member's wife. Please note, there were other pleasantries exchanged in the email, so it reads a bit harsher than it actually was, but I am still surprised at the audacity of this woman. This woman was so adept at dodging facts that she should consider running for office. Wife beggar. Hi, this is wife beggar. I'm poor husband's wife. I heard you were giving everyone printers and that you said it was okay for our kids to use it for schoolwork. Me. Hi wife beggar, yes. It supports Wi-Fi, so anyone in the house can use it. I don't know much about setup, but one of our guys, Dan, is really tech savvy and volunteered to help anyone and their family with setup. I hope it helps. Wife beggar. Would it be possible to get a color printer? Me. It's easier if everyone has the same model. Dan is really familiar with this model. Plus it makes it easier for tracking, accounting and supplies. So this is the best fit. Wife beggar. I just found other model for the same money. It wouldn't cost you more. Could we get that one instead? Me. In the long run it does. Color cartridges cost more money. Plus that one is slower and doesn't support scanning. Wife beggar. The kids will mind if it's slower. And they don't need to scan anything for school. Me. The primary purpose of this printer is for poor husband's work. The speed and scanning are most important for him. Wife beggar. He doesn't scan anything. Our current printer doesn't scan at all. Me. I know. He has to drive into the office to do it. This will save him time, plus we're not going to have an office after June. Wife beggar. He won't mind. And I've overheard you in WebEx meetings talking about the danger of one-size-fits-all thinking. Isn't that what this is? Finally I lost my patience. I was done negotiating with a beggar. Me. Wife beggar, one of these printers will be arriving there today or tomorrow. That printer is Rondo Boomer Co. property for the purpose of poor husband to do his job. Within reason, your kids can use it for schoolwork. Please have your husband get in touch with Dan if he needs assistance. Wife beggar. Oh, I thought you were buying it for us to keep. Never mind then. First, how would this behavior have been okay if it were a gift? Second, are that many employers giving away printers? I did get an email from the husband later, apologizing. Let's hope his kids take after him. The next story is titled "M Calls the Cops on Me for Trespassing on My Own Land." Gets evicted. Cast. Me. Duh, M. Typical entitled cow, Frank. Unlucky neighbor, the owner of M's house and the father of M's baby daddy. Grandfather. An 83-yo farmer who takes no crap. Cops 1, 2, and 3 backstory. For most of my life I was raised by my grandfather. Nothing was wrong with my family life or anything. We live in a suburban area surrounded by woods and he owns about 10 acres into the woods with the boundaries clearly marked by stone walls. In fact, my grandfather was usually more than happy to give permission to neighbors who politely asked him to use his land. One of our neighbors had asked my grandfather if he could dump the sticks and leaves in his yard over the stone wall. My grandfather agreed as he rarely uses that part of the property anyway. This will be important later. Recently I've started the project of cleaning up the underbrush around the wooded area. A large pine had fallen a few months before and almost hit one of the porches in the cul-de-sac. My grandfather cut up the tree and removed the pieces in the neighbor's yard, but it was too deep in the woods to pull them out with the tractor. This led to me going back to that pine tree and trying to clear a path back to the house from there. I was behind the stone wall, cutting and pulling up saplings when I hear the glass door of the cul-de-sac house open and an angry lady storming out onto the porch in a bathrobe. She was much younger than a typical Karen, I would say mid-20s. What are you doing here? You can't be here. Me. Why not? Because you're trespassing, dumb. You think you can just hang out in the woods behind my house with my kids inside? Get the duck out of here before I call the cops. At this point I'm just looking at her trying to figure out what to say. I mean, I get it, it can be a little weird seeing someone in the woods behind your house if you haven't seen them before. Me. Ma'am, I'm sorry if I scared you, but my family owns this part of the woods. I'm just cleaning up back here. Remember me and my grandfather were back here a few months back to take care of that tree that fell down? I just need to clear a path so we can get it out of here. At this point I thought it was purely a misunderstanding. Don't be ridiculous. Those were laborers my BF's dad hired. You don't own the land. My BF's dad owns all this. Gestures with her hand. Now I'll tell you one more time to get out before I call the cops. Me. Guess you're going to have to call the cops then, because I ain't moving. I don't care what your BF, or your BF's dad says. I shrug as I lean back against the wall and pull out my phone to call my grandfather to tell him where I was. He tells me he'll be there in a few minutes and to hang tight. She then dramatically proceeds to call 911 and tells them there's a shady individual on her property refusing to leave and she's afraid for her life. I start getting nervous at this point, even though all I have on me is a hooked branch cutter. So I call up the police non-emergency number, briefly explain the situation as just a land dispute that got out of hand and that I am unarmed and waiting on my own property, and that I have never left my own property. He assured me that it would be settled when the officers arrive, which didn't help my nerves. Just then I hear my grandfather pull up and see him walking through the yard towards us. What? Stay back, you can't come in my yard. Grandfather. Growls, keep your mouth shut, you dumb broad. He growled as he walked over to me and climbed over the wall so he was on my side. Grandfather. Now who the hell do you think you are and why are you yelling at my granddaughter? My BF's dad owns all of this and both of you are going to get arrested for trespassing. My grandfather let out a dramatic, indignant laugh. Grandfather. Oh, did he tell you that? Well, you're in for quite the shock. And your BF's dad is in for quite the talk. After them yelling back and forth for a few minutes, 2 cop cars pull up and 3 officers come walking into the yard. As soon as they do, she starts screaming again about how we have no right to be in the woods behind her house where we can see her kids inside. Cop 1. Looks to G. Sir, do you own the property behind this wall? Grandfather. Yes, sir, I do. Pulls out his wallet to show his address. Cop 1. Eyeing his license. Sir, this address is for down the street. Me. Correct, but if you look on Google Maps it shows the property boundaries of that address reach out through the woods and end at this wall. I hand him my phone, which already has Google Maps open showing our exact location within the boundary of the property. Cop 2. Yup, she's right. So what were you all doing back here, if you don't mind me asking? We explained the situation of the tree and how we were working to remove the remnants. Meanwhile the other officer was taking a statement from M. Grandfather. I know the owner of this house, he's a good guy. I give him permission to dump his leaves and stuff behind the wall. But I've never seen her before, so I don't know where she got those crazy ideas. But I'm definitely going to have a talk with Frank when he gets home. Cop 1. She already called him up and he's on his way now. Do you mind sticking around for a little until he gets here? Grandfather. Sure, we got nothing to do. The cops walked us to my grandfather's truck where we waited about 10 minutes for Frank to pull in. When he did, he immediately walked over to the truck. Frank. Grandfather's first name. What's going on? Someone was hiding out in the woods? Are you okay? Did you see him? To clarify, We have had an issue in the past with people running from cops and hiding in our woods. It took a second for us to realize he thought that maybe M saw one and we came to chase him out. Me. Not exactly. Frank explains that M is his granddaughter's mother and his son had made some mistakes and currently both were staying with him while they tried to find a place of their own. He thinks maybe his son told some lies to make him look better. Grandfather. Well, I hate to say it but your son made some big mistakes, she's crazy. Frank. Oh, you have no idea. The other cop is still talking to M who won't stop screaming about not wanting us being able to see into the living room, especially my grandfather, a creepy old man. My blood is boiling at this point. My grandpa is the type of person who would gladly throw his life away to save a child, any child. Even a stranger's. Frank heard this too and ordered M inside at once. He told the cops he needed to have a talk with both her and his son about their living situation but they might want to remain nearby in case she tries to call again for whatever reason. Me and my grandfather are given the clear to go but leave our contact information. Found out later that week that M was getting evicted for a number of reasons with this little incident being the last straw. He's also filing for custody of his granddaughter because M refuses to get a job yet still has money for alcohol yet keeps asking Frank for money to take care of his granddaughter. I really feel bad for her in this situation but I have no sympathy for M whatsoever. Entitlement at its best. The next story is titled Karen wanted me to call my coworker on his day off to make her order. Alright. This happened a few years ago. I used to work for coffee shop. Keep in mind that we were required to move through drinks quickly. This will be important later. I was on the coffee bar that day. Who do I see walk in? Our most annoying Karen yet. She is so specific with her order to the point of staring at the baristas while making her drink. Which by far is one of the most irritating things that baristas hate when customers do. Anyways, this Karen knows this one barista, who was a buddy of mine, that does her drink right. We all do it the same so she asks for a caramel macchiato and goes into so much detail as usual. However, my buddy is on his off day and since I was the one on the coffee bar, guess what? I had to deal with her this time. Whatever, I start making her drink and every part of the process felt like it took 1,000 hours because she kept stopping me. Oh, can you just dump a half a pump of vanilla out? No too much milk, take a 1/4 teaspoon out. Can you tilt your body this way so I can see how you are making the drink? Yes, she asked that. And there she said it, the most entitled sentence so far, you know. Can you call the other barista that usually makes my drink to come in and just make it? I can't believe what I just listened to be honest and at first I think she is joking. There is no way she is actually serious, right? Right? No. She was serious. Ma'am, I just finished your drink. Here you go, he knows how to do it right. Just see if he wants to come in, respectfully. Ma'am, I'm not going to do that, it's his day off. She storms out like I cursed her out or something. I also just think to myself, you don't have anything to do other than to wait here until he comes and makes your drink. Like really? I ended up telling my coworker about it and he and I had a laugh. The next story is titled Years Ago, Giving Rides to Choosy Beggar. This happened many years ago but it still makes me laugh so very hard. I was hired to go back to a city I used to live in to help work on a show for a friend. It was a lightly paid gig and I liked this friend and the group that was working on it, so I said hey, why not? I lived a few hours away from the city and I had to drive myself. My friend asked if I could pick up a couple people on my way through another city. Totally fine. I texted the 2 people that I was on the way and I wouldn't be there at X time and to meet me where we arranged. I want to preface this by saying I smoked at the time. I know, and I did smoke in my own vehicle. So I get a call from person A telling me they were so confused and thought we were driving down tomorrow. He was the MC for this event. I said no, it's always been today. And I have to be there a day early to figure out all I needed to do to make the show run smoothly. He then told me he needed some time to process this, and that he would call me back. I informed him that's fine, but I will still be leaving his city on time so take that into consideration. Mind you, there is a bus that can go between cities. So he could also catch the bus. Longer ride, but can leave the day and time he wants to. I get to the meeting spot and he's there with person B. Cool. He gets in and is very standoffish. Whatever. We are ready to get going and person B hands me some cash for gas money. I thank him profusely and that's that. Person A is still quiet. I turn on some music as we get going, but person A doesn't like it, so requests we turn it off or we can all take turns playing music for the 2-hour drive, and I agree because honestly, who cares? It's not for that long. Then, I ask if they are okay if I have a smoke on the way. Neither of them say anything, so I light up, but I get glared at, so to keep the peace I don't do it again. I drop them both off where they are staying and go to my friend's house where I will be sleeping. I get a text from person A about how embarrassed he is as he thought I was giving out free rides, so I should have made it clear I wanted gas money well before. He also didn't appreciate me smoking in my own vehicle, even though he said nothing at the time. Please note this man is a few years older than me and graduated college long before I did and had been working longer than me. He proceeded to tell me that he is very broke, and I could have confirmed that with him prior to the ride. I am also broke at this point? I didn't even offer this ride. My friend asked me to help out and I said okay cause it wasn't a big deal, and I never asked for gas money because it never occurred to me as I had to go through there anyways. I had no words. I showed my friend, who dealt with this guy himself, and I never saw him again. I definitely didn't give him a ride back. The next story is titled Karen Demands My Hot Tub. Medium. Typical long-time lurker, first-time poster. This just happened and the only word that comes to mind is wow. The previous owner of my house, H, called a few days ago, interested in buying the hot tub I have on my lower deck. I bought the house from him including the hot tub and shed. When he sold the property to me, he was in an on and off again relationship with his now wife, Karen. I told him in the first phone call I'd want time to think on it and do some research. I don't use the hot tub, haven't in the year I've lived here, so I was open to selling it. Through his own admission, it was worth $12,000 brand new 2 years ago, and has seen very light use. No cosmetic damage besides being dirty. So while playing phone tag with him over the next couple days, I had the number of around $8,000 to $9,000 to be expected for it. Out of the blue, 2 days ago Karen calls me and begins to chat with me about the hot tub. I start with asking how they plan to move it. She says they'll hire professional movers, and then I asked what they were thinking as far as pricing goes. She goes into this long monologue about how they put in a lot of sweat equity into the home. They were the ones to buy it and set it up, yada yada yada, and then tells me they're looking around $3,000 for it. Taken aback a bit, I told her I'd have to think on it and that further negotiations would probably be coming. She sounded very annoyed and rushed the entire time on the phone with me, like she was working and I was inconveniencing her even though she called me. Fast forward to today. Obviously, I decide to not go through with the sale, and to be gentle about it, I called H and told him that I didn't want to sell it because it is part of the home's value. Partially true, but I didn't want to come out and say that they, or rather, Karen, tried to offensively lowball me. H was very understanding, and asked me, sounding almost scared, to please text Karen and let her know before H got home. Weird request at the time, but okay, sure. Come to find out, I'm sure he knew what her reaction would be and didn't want to take the full heat for it. I texted her, explaining what I told H, and she texted me back, "We left you a super clean place, it had mold, and had a lot of sweat equity invested, a couch and a shed a company put in. You personally did not make those improvements. I made others. Yet you will capitalize on those improvements, that's how real estate works." She then went on to call me as greedy as the market and that asking for the tub wasn't unreasonable because it was barely used at all. And, best wishes on getting what you think you deserve out of our improvements. I've yet to send a reply because I have no idea what to say to her. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.